Welcome to the Alpha Girl Confidence Podcast, where we are empowering youth female athletes to play and live confidently. My name is Shay Haddo, and each week I will bring you new episodes to teach you the strategies and tools that you need in order to live a confident, empowered life, both on and off the playing field. Hey guys, what's up? Happy New Year. Happy 2022. Welcome to the first episode of the new year. Episode 167, How to Become Your Best Self in 2022. So I hope you had a really awesome new year. Hopefully you set some goals. And on today's episode, we are not going to talk about goal setting. We're not going to talk about how to achieve your goals. We're not going to talk about any of the outcome. We're not talking about any of that. We are going to get really, really actionable on how you can become your best self, not by setting goals, but by adopting new habits and releasing old habits that don't serve you. So before we dive in, I would highly suggest grabbing a notebook out because like I said, this episode is very actionable. Everything we talk about today is an exercise that you can go through, you can do on your own, and hopefully you can implement on your own. So first thing we're going to talk about is goal setting versus habit formation. So goal setting generally is outcome-based, okay? Is outcome-based. There are performance-related goals, process-related goals that are more about the process, about how to actually get to that goal. But a lot of times what I've learned with working with girls and just, studying humans and studying myself and getting more aware with myself is when we have goals, it's kind of this far away thing, right? It's this far away thing where it's like, okay, I don't really know how to get there. But it's just this thing that I'm going to work towards, but then what do I do when I stop being motivated? It requires motivation, it requires accountability, it requires all this stuff, right? And a lot of people don't actually reach their goals because they're too vague and because they're too far off. They don't have a plan. So what we're going to talk about today is two very simple things. It's letting go of letting go of old habits that don't serve you and adopting new habits that do serve you. And the reason why this is so important is because our habits make up I can't remember the exact number, but our habits make up a large portion, at least half of everything that we do is purely out of habit. So if we have good habits, we're probably going to have a pretty good life. If we have bad habits, poor habits, it's probably going to bring our energy down. So if we can just focus on our habits, that's going to be a huge, huge, huge catalyst for you to become your best self. So the first thing is dropping old habits that don't serve you. Dropping old habits that don't serve you. So what I want you to do is I want you to get out your notebook and I either right now pause and go through this or go through the whole episode and then kind of go through the exercise on your own. But what I want you to do in this exercise is get out your notebook and I want you to write all of the habits that you have in your life that don't serve you, that don't make you a better person, that don't make you feel good, that brings down your energy, all of those things, right? So let's go through a few examples. For me, and I'm going to be really honest on this episode, and all the examples will be for me. For me, some of those habits is as soon as I get bored, I pick up my phone. And it's just this habit, this addiction that I think probably almost everybody who has a phone struggles with this as well. So for me, that's one of my habits that I'm going to try to drop. Now that's not going to be an easy habit to drop because it's really wired into our brains and it's almost an addiction, but it starts with awareness. Right. So when we're dropping our habits, it's not that you all of a sudden are just going to be able to drop them and not do them anymore. The first step in dropping your habits is about being aware that you're doing them. Once you're aware that you're doing that thing, then it's like, okay, I see myself doing this. Now I'm going to let that go. So for me, as soon as I'm bored and I pick up my phone, I'm going to pick up my phone, right? And I'll be like, oh crap, I'm doing it. Now I'm going to put down my phone. That's the first step in dropping your habits is awareness, right? So another bad habit too is if I'm bored, again, a lot of these stem from being bored. So I would ask yourself, what are some of the habits you do when you're bored, right? For me, sometimes it's going into the kitchen and I'm like, well, I'm not even hungry, but I'm just going to eat because I'm bored, right? That's one that probably most people have as well. Another bad habit I have, or that I used to have, this isn't anymore. I'm trying to think of bad habits that I have now, which I've done a lot of work on these, and I'm sure there's still plenty more that I have. But another habit that I used to have that I would say, if you're listening to this, you may have this too, is hitting the snooze button, right? As soon as your alarm goes off, you're like, it's cold and it's early and I don't want to wake up. Boom, let's hit the snooze button and sleep for 9 more minutes or 10 more minutes or whatever it is, right? And that is a habit that isn't serving you and becoming your best self. So a way that you can kind of get rid of that habit is by making it really hard to hit the snooze button. So maybe putting your phone outside the room, which is a really great habit to do, which is maybe disabling the snooze alarm at all, depending on what you use as your alarm, right? Maybe by putting your phone up away from right near your pillow so that you have to get up to turn it off, right? So these are just examples of how you can get rid and drop these old habits. Okay, now here's a really cool thing is that when you release something, when you let go of an old habit, that kind of leaves a void, right? It leaves this empty spot. And with that empty spot, you can then fill it with something that actually fills you up instead of takes away your energy. So do you see how this works, right? So you let go of that old habit and now there's space. Now there's space for you to adopt these new habits. So it's not like we're just piling up these habits, new habits, and all of a sudden we have these millions of habits and we can't keep up with them. No, we're releasing old habits and we're bringing in new habits to fill that void. So now it's about finding out what habits, what things can I do on a daily basis that are going to improve my confidence, that are going to improve my energy, that are going to improve my health, my mental health, my physical health, all of those things, right? So this is going to be maybe where you sit down with your notebook and you take a minute and you write down just everything you can think of at first. So if you can think of 10 things at first, that's great. I'm not going to ask you to do all of those 10 things, but write down as many healthy habits and positive habits that you can. Once you've got a few of them down, I want you to find the one, okay? The one, not 2, not 3, not 4. I want you to find the one habit that you think will make the biggest difference in your life. The one habit that you think will make the biggest difference in your life when you adopt it, okay? So once you have those things down, for me, for example, it's meditating every day. And I've had that habit for a long time and then I fell off and then I made the habit too big and then I fell off, right? So for me in 2022, it's meditating every day. A couple months ago, and another point I want to make with habits is we have to start small. We have to start small and we have to progress because in my example, my goal and my habit was to meditate for 60 minutes every single day. And I did it for a few days, but then I was taking care of the dog and I had to work out and I was doing all these other things and I wasn't prioritizing it because an hour felt really long, right? An hour, I was like, how am I going to get an hour in? So I just stopped it. So once you figure out what that habit is, start really, really small because then you can go up from there. If you start too big, then it's like, no, this is way too hard. I'm not going to do it. So big key here is when you're adopting your new habit, start small and progress, right? Start small and you can keep going. But the goal with the new habits is consistency. If you do it once in a while, it's not a habit. It's a conscious thing. We want it to become a habit is where it's not really conscious, where you just do it because you do it. So that's the goal is like, even if it's like, let's say you're going out and you want to do a plank every day. Right? You want to do a plank every day. Instead of starting at 60 seconds every day, can you start at 30 seconds every day and just build up from there? All right. So that's key with habits. Okay. So now what I want you to do, putting these two things together, we have number one, we're going to release habits. So I want you again to write down all of the negative habits that you have that bring you down. Okay. Now you don't need to release all of those at the same time. I want you again to circle one of those habits that you feel is making the biggest negative impact in your life, that's bringing your energy down the most. And you're going to just focus on releasing that one habit. Okay. You're going to release one habit and then you're going to adopt one habit. So we're replacing one habit with another habit. Right. And so we have this big list, but I don't need you to go through and release all these and add all these. Again, it's one habit you're releasing, one habit you're gaining. And the magic with this, okay, because I'm all about the process with life. It's not about the outcome, right? It's not about the outcome. But when you develop habits, it changes how you live your life. If your life is dependent on your day, and your day is dependent on your habits. So if you have these habits that help you to become your best self, you're going to have good days. You're going to have good weeks, good months, good years, a good life. But it starts with the little seed, right? A tree can't become a tree without the little seed, without nurturing it, without sunshine, without water, without nutrients. And it's the same thing with the big goals that you have. I've been talking to a lot of girls lately. They want to play for North Carolina. They want to go play on the national team. They have these big goals, and that's amazing. And I believe in them, right? But in order to have those big goals and have the big tree, you have to first start with the seed. And the seed is the habits. Once you nurture the habits and they become a strong habit that helps you to become your best self, that's when the tree will start to grow. So I hope that makes sense. Again, go through this. Okay. I guarantee you, if you go through this and you take it seriously and you actually do this step by step, like we talked about, and you implement, then I promise you, you will start to see a change in your life. Right? You will start to see a change in your life. And I'm going to declare it out into the world as well, that I am releasing the addiction to always get on my phone when I'm bored, to scroll mindlessly. I am releasing that addiction. I am releasing that habit. And the habit that I'm going to adopt is going to be meditating every day, not for 60 minutes. Because for me, that was too much to start. I learned that about myself. But for me, it's going to be at least 15 minutes every single day, right? And most days I'm going to do more than that, much more than that. But I want to start small, and I can always build upon that 15 minutes. So those are my habits that I'm declaring into the world to help me become my best self in 2022. So what are yours? And bonus points, if when you do things on your own and you write them down and you say them out loud to yourself, it's really powerful. But you know what's even more powerful is declaring it to other people, declaring it to the universe. So if you want to make even more powerful, what you can do, you can either just send me a screenshot of your habits that you're releasing and adopting. Feel free to send me a message, send it on Instagram, send a DM to me. You can email it to me, or you can always put it on your stories, put it out into the universe, tag me on social media, tag the episode, tag Shay Haddo or Alpha Girl Confidence. And I would love to support you in that, to help keep you accountable and just kind of be there to help challenge you and support you in releasing the old and bringing in the new, just like we do with the new year. We release the old, we bring in the new. Now it's time to do that with your habits. It's time to bring your highest self. It's time to become your best self every single day. So I hope this episode was helpful. And if you want more support with becoming your best self on the field, off the field, on the court, off the court, all of those things, then I'm opening up my calendar for podcast listeners only, where we can chat one-on-one. So with you and your parents, if you're listening, with you and your daughter, where we can help to unblock and identify some of the blocks that are holding her back. And then I can offer some insights as to how we can help and how me and the community can help your daughter to become her best self, to become her most confident self in 2022 and beyond. So the link to book that call with me will be in the show notes below this episode here. Again, I hope this episode was helpful. I look forward to seeing your new habits, and I look forward to seeing you crush the new year. Have an amazing new year. All right, I'll catch you on next week's episode.